Hi everyone and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for Upwork's series of educational webinars. Today we're going to be covering Freelancing 101, Professional Best Practices on Upwork. And a little bit about myself. My name is Regan Murray. I am currently the ambassador for the Chicago Midwest area, so shout out to the Midwest. I'm currently one of 4 U.S. ambassadors working on behalf of Upwork and providing educational content and webinars such as these. I'm currently a freelance event planner and business consultant, and prior to freelancing, I was a former business professor at a university called East West University here in Chicago. I've been freelancing for about 2 years now, and a fun fact about myself is that I'm a certified paddy diver. So I really love to get outside, explore nature any chance I get whenever I'm not working on my freelance work. So without further ado, we'll get started with our educational content for today. The goal of today's webinar and the goal of, I think, everyone's business on Upwork is to build a profitable and rewarding business on Upwork and to keep your business running smoothly. So today is a great place to start if you're just starting out on Upwork. We're going to be going over some of the best practices from our top-rated freelancers, so please feel free to take as many of these tips as you'd like and apply them to your own business. Everyone's goal is to make their business both profitable and rewarding, and so we're excited to show you how you can do that through Upwork today. So we'll start by going over 5 powerful tips from top-rated freelancers. So these are some of our most successful freelancers that are working on the platform. Tip number 1, set yourself up as a business. So as soon as you are freelancing, you become a business owner. So it is your responsibility to speak with any legal or financial or other business professionals in your country to figure out anything that you may need to get started before you're running your business. This knowledge will help you reduce risks and take advantage of any benefits that you may find of being a business owner. So it's a good idea to go ahead and maybe give it a quick Google to see if there's any licenses or work permits that you may need depending on the type of business that you'll be offering on Upwork. So things especially like legal advice, medical advice, make sure you're checking out any type of work permits that you need before you get started there. It's also worth it to take a look into registering as a business versus working as a sole proprietor, and this will be something that may be important when it comes time to file your taxes in April. So another quick question or advice you may seek would be any tax planning or expense tracking, or if you need to open a separate business bank account. Not everyone will need to take all these steps, again, so don't be alarmed if it feels like this is a lot for you to get started. It's just more of crossing your T's and dotting your I's to make sure that you've given everything a look over that you may need to do before you get started. Tip number 2, perfect your Upwork profile. So you want to make your profile speak to your clients about how you can help them. You also want to use a professional portrait and your real name for your Upwork profile. Some tips for your portrait would be to make sure that you're looking at the camera, smiling, make sure that you can see your eyes and that you're not wearing any sunglasses. Just regular glasses are fine, obviously. And try to make sure that your background is as plain and as undistracting as possible. You also want to be consistent with your strongest skills in your title, in your skills listings, in your overview, and in your work history. This is going to make it really clear to your clients what you're offering and what your primary skill sets are. You also want to make sure that you complete all sections of your profile and leverage them to back up your skills. So you want your profile to look complete and you want it to look consistent, just like your work would be for these potential clients. If your profile is not entirely complete, that could be a red flag to your clients or potential clients in thinking that you may not finish the job. So make sure you complete all those sections. You also want to be concise and straightforward in your language and proofread and update your profile regularly. So make sure that you're either using a spell check extension in your browser or having a friend or coworker look over it for you just to catch anything that you may not have caught. Another tip is that for more information on your profile and how you can perfect it even further, we do have another webinar that you can take a look at called Profile Makeover. So that's a webinar dedicated entirely to working on your profile and finding some additional tips and tricks there. Tip number 3, multiply your chances of getting a response from your clients. So multiplying the chances of a response. To get a response from your clients, you never want to attempt to identify or reach out to a client outside of Upwork. Clients post a job on Upwork to work with you inside of Upwork, and they don't anticipate or welcome outside communications. And that is because Upwork is here to protect both you and the client. So all of the work that you do inside of Upwork will be protected, as well as your communications. But if you take that work or those communications outside of the platform, then you are no longer entitled to many of those protections. So just don't assume that a client has read your entire profile. While that may be nice, unfortunately, clients are very busy running their businesses, so they may not have time to read your entire profile. So make sure that when you're sending a proposal to them for their job, that it's customized and that you've really read through the job listing and making sure that you are including all of the relevant skills from your profile into your custom proposal. Another really important tip is to make sure that you're responding to the screening questions first. So these are the questions that are asked specifically by the clients when they're posting a job. And the reason that these are so important is not only because the client has taken the time to put this question in there specifically, but also because when they are reviewing your proposal, these answers to these questions are actually going to be the very first thing that they see when they're reviewing all the proposals that they've received. So it's going to be really important, and they're going to, kind of judge your fitness for the job and whether or not they want to interview you further, not only based on your proposal, but also based on your response to their specific screening questions. So just make sure you're also describing relevant experience to the job, anything that you've worked on previously that might be similar or help you succeed at this new job. And you also want to, like I mentioned earlier, continue to leverage your profile and provide relevant project samples. So you may have some samples or a portfolio on your profile. If you do have anything specifically relevant that you would like the client to take a look at, you're more than welcome to attach that and explain why you've attached that as well. So another really important and great tip is to outline your approach in the initial project plan. So this is going to show the client not only that you've thoroughly read the job description, but also that you've spent time thinking about and reflecting about how you would tackle this project. And it'll give the client a little taste of what it would be like to work with you and some of the ideas that you bring to the table. So I really want to highlight on that tip as well, to make sure that you're outlining your approach so that you and the client can get started on how you're going to tackle this project, hopefully. Finally, you want to end your proposal with a specific call to action, such as a follow-up call or email to discuss further questions or steps in the hiring process. And lastly, just like with your profile, make sure you're rereading, editing, and considering everything that you write within your proposals, because you never know, you could miss something. So again, make sure you're using either a spell check extension in your browser or having someone else look it over for you. Another pro tip, if you're feeling like a little overwhelmed by this idea of proposals, great news, we have another webinar called Proposals That Sell. So again, it'll be an entire webinar dedicated to crafting your proposals and how you can create the best proposals for your clients and multiply those chances of you getting a response. So number 4 is going to be build excellent relationships with your clients. You want to set expectations about how you'll provide updates, when you will provide updates, and then be sure to deliver. If you can't deliver, then make sure you're updating the client at that time anyway to let them know. So some tips for building those excellent relationships with clients are, like I mentioned, making sure you're managing those client expectations with open and honest communication. You also want to account for and adapt to differences in time zones. So make sure that you're always checking to make sure that you have the correct meeting time or phone call time if you guys are in different time zones. You also want to communicate your availability and practice transparency. A great way to do this is to share your Google Calendars with one another so you can see any of the availability, or to give multiple times that you may be available for a call. That way, if your client is not available for one of the times, you've already given them additional times in which you are available. So that also kind of goes back to being proactive, being clear and precise in your communication, also responding to the client promptly, so making sure that they're not waiting for extended amounts of times to hear back from you, and make use of post-completion follow-up. So even something small like saying thank you is something that is often overlooked, but clients really appreciate it. And they may, think of you again when they have another job similar come up in mind and reach out to you. So that will save you time in the future of even having to find future jobs, build a proposal, or even applying for it. So make sure that you're using post-completion follow-up and always thanking your clients for their business as well. So one of our final tips is to establish a routine after each completed job. So you maybe want to start by asking the client to close the contract and provide honest feedback. But again, never pressuring them to say anything that isn't honest. You want honest and hopefully positive feedback as well if you did a really great job on this project. You also want to send a thank you message to your client and let them know if you're available for more work, because one of the best opportunities that you can find on Upwork would be to establish relationships with long-term clients. Again, that kind of just builds a great relationship for you as the freelancer and also the client as building their virtual bench, so to speak, and having other really talented freelancers available to help them on their next project that they may need as well. And again, this will just save you time and even money in looking for and applying for additional jobs if you do a great job for one client, and then they will potentially reach out to you again for work in the future. You also want to request approval to display the finished product in your portfolio. That way, any future clients can see the great work that you've done for this client by displaying it in your portfolio. You do always need to make sure that you're requesting approval for this, as some clients may not want you to publish the work that you've done for them, or they may just ask that you redact a few pieces of information, and then they would be happy to let you post it. So just make sure that you're communicating this and requesting approval from your clients before you do so. You also want to link the portfolio item to the contract itself, so this verifies your work and helps build trust with future clients. You also want to adjust your hourly rate to account for new skills. So as you continue to work on more and more projects, if you've completed maybe a really long-term project or a project that required you to learn new skills, it's totally acceptable to adjust your hourly rate if you think that you've gained additional experience, additional skill set, and now additional value. And with that is also to add any new skills that you've acquired to your profile. So as you mentioned a moment ago, if you had to, maybe learn a new skill while you were working on this previous job, make sure you include that to your profile, because that's just going to strengthen your profile and your virtual resume even further. And lastly would be to move on to the next job. Some more professional best practices are to just do great work. When you accept a project, you promise to complete the work and to deliver high quality work. So if you misrepresent your skills or you fail to perform your work as promised, this can result in a low job success score and potentially some disputes. So you definitely want to try to set yourself up for success and steer away from any of those low job success scores or disputes. And so by doing so, just making sure that you are not overrepresenting your skills and completing the work that you promised to deliver. You also want to make sure you're always treating everyone with respect and professional courtesy in all communications. That includes any messagings on the platform, emails, phone calls, all of the sort. You also want to be responsive, respond quickly to messages from clients and the Upwork support team, including the dispute team. This is just going to help any disputes get resolved as quickly as possible, and is also going to show the client that you are always available and ready to help. Because the worst thing you can do is just not respond to your clients, and then they're not even sure what the status of your work is. And the work is for their business, their baby, their love. So make sure you're just treating it with care and being responsive to them when they are reaching out to you. And lastly, be honest. Always accurately describe your experience, your skills, your qualifications, and the services you offer. And again, this is just going to make sure that everything is open and honest and clear from the get-go, everyone's expectations are managed, and the work is delivered as honestly and as well as possible. So, a few tips for staying safe on Upwork as a freelancer. First of all, you can start by securing your account. The first thing you can do is enable two-factor verification. And that works by entering your password alone is usually enough to tell when you're accessing your account, but in some circumstances, you'd be asked to enter a unique six-digit code that will be sent by text message to your phone number that you've set up. So all you need to do to set that up is visit your password and security on your settings page and then enable phone verification under two-step verification. And again, this is just to give you an added layer of security so that if for some reason your password becomes leaked or breached, other hackers or other people will not be able to access your account without this other two-step verification, and that will just protect your business because Upwork is going to be your platform for doing your business. So you want to make sure that that is as protected as possible. And you also want to make sure that you're only using Upwork in non-restricted countries. So currently, U.S. federal law restricts Upwork from conducting business with individuals and entities that are residing in Crimea, Cuba, Iran, North Korea, or Syria. And if you ever want to check to make sure that your client or your company is within these allowable districts, make sure to check the U.S. Treasury website for any updated information or lists. So another tip to protect your account would be to use your own account and your own identity. So don't share accounts and don't use a fake identity. You want to make sure that you're always being yourself, and this protects your reputation and you're contributing to the transparency of the community, which is so important because we want to make sure that, we're building an honest, reputable future of work online, and every single one of us is a part of that. So you always want to make sure that you're responding quickly to requests to verify your identity, whether that be via phone verification or uploading photos of your government-issued ID. And you also never ever want to transfer or sell your account credentials to other users. So never sharing accounts between another person. Every individual needs to have their own user account. And you can be team members on an agency together, but you cannot share your account login credentials. So you can all operate under the same agency together, basically as co-workers, but again, you're not sharing your individual account information. And this again just protects your work, it protects your reputation, and the work of everyone who's doing work on Upwork. So don't ever log into one of your clients' accounts on their behalf either. If a client asks you to do this, tell them that you can be assigned admin privileges for the freelancer instead. So that's something that they can go in and add you as an admin within their account, but don't ever log into their account on their behalf. This could possibly result in suspension of your account because this is a violation of our terms and conditions. So again, if a client ever asks you to do that, just kindly tell them that that is not allowed and that they would be better served to add you as an admin to give you additional rights within their business account. So the use of one Upwork account. So you can only have one freelancer account. Again, if you have duplicate freelancer accounts, they will be closed and you can be reported for violation of services again. This is just to protect everyone's authenticity and the work that we're doing here on Upwork. So you're just one person, you only need one account, but you can also open a separate client account or an agency profile. So they'll be created under your freelancer account, much like you see this graphic to the right here, where your freelancer account will be the main account, and if you decide down the road that you need to also open a client account, maybe you need help hiring some freelancers for a business of your own, or you want to start an agency where you're managing multiple freelancers, you can do that, but again, making sure that it's all under your one freelancer account. So this one is very important as well. Accepting payments only through Upwork. So soliciting to or accepting payment from an Upwork client off the platform is a violation of terms and services. And these violations can lead to permanent suspension and payment of a conversion fee. So a conversion fee is provided for in Section 7 of the user agreement, and this fee can be paid either by the client or the freelancer, and it will be estimated to be 12% of your estimated annual earnings. So the reason that you would be charged this 12% conversion fee is if you are taking your business outside of the Upwork platform, which generally is prohibited other than these two exceptions that are listed here. So exception 1 would be if the user agrees to take the relationship off the platform, they can pay the Upwork conversion fee to do so. And exception number 2, if you have maintained a relationship with your client for 2 years on the platform, you can then take that relationship off the platform without a fee. And there's two reasons for this. The first reason is that Upwork, again, wants to protect all of the work that you are doing. And there are specific payment protections for you when you're working on hourly projects, meaning that if you do the work through Upwork and submit them hourly, you are guaranteed that payment. Upwork is going to protect you and the work that you've done if for any reason your client is no longer able to or willing to compensate you. So if you take that work outside of Upwork, you'll lose entitlement to those protections. So that's no good. Everyone wants to make sure that their work is being valued and protected. So that's why you want to make sure that you're always keeping your payments on the platform to keep everyone safe. And then if for any reason one of these two exceptions does come up for you, that's why we have the payment of the conversion fee. And this is just essentially the fee that Upwork will charge for having established this relationship for the two of you, and your ability to take it off the platform and to no longer use its services. So just make sure that you're always accepting your payments through the Upwork platform, only as a general rule of thumb. So, as I just mentioned briefly on the last slide, another way to shield yourself is to qualify for payment protection. So this is currently only qualified under hourly contracts, and this helps ensure that you qualify for Upwork's hourly protection. So you need to make sure that the client has a verified billing method. So it will say on the client's profile, billing method verified or billing method unverified. So you want to make sure that they have a verified billing method, because if they don't, you'll not be entitled for these protections. So if that's something you see on a job that you're applying for, maybe make sure that you're asking the client about it up front, maybe asking if they're able to add a verified billing method before you move forward. Number 2 is to bill your hours with the Upwork desktop app and ensure that your documents work related to the contract. So make sure that you're only billing hours for things that are billable. So also you want to stay within the contract's weekly limit, which will be set by your client, and check all requirements on the Upwork support page. So for fixed price contracts, there's something called escrow funds that are covered by the fixed price protection, which means that funds are held in an escrow account, an account that's just sitting there waiting for you. So it's not currently held by the client, it's not currently held by you, it's kind of just held in waiting until that milestone within the contract is completed. So you only want to make sure that you begin working on that milestone after it's been funded in escrow, after the client has released that money and it's just sitting in the escrow account waiting for you to work on and complete your milestone. And number 2, also making sure that the client still has a verified payment method. So this is really important whenever you are applying for jobs, and if you ever see a client that has an unverified payment method, make sure you're asking them about it up front. And then it's also something to consider for yourself when you want to see if you would accept this job or not. So another way to make sure you're keeping yourself protected, again, is keeping all your communications on Upwork. Upwork requires that all communication takes place via Upwork before the contract starts. So additionally, you cannot request or share your contact information such as email, phone, Skype, etc. before a contract starts. And again, this is just to protect you and your work, because if you take your communications outside of the platform and a dispute arises between you and the client, there will be no way for Upwork to verify or validate any of that communication that's taken place because it's been outside of their platform. So basically they will not be able to help you if an issue arises outside of the platform. So again, it's all just for your protection and to make sure that your business is operating as successfully as possible. So this also includes on your profile or in Upwork messages, making sure you're not sharing this additional information. But we have added some exciting updates in the last month or so that you can now Zoom with your clients directly on the Upwork platform within your messages. So that way, if you or your client would like to discuss any further details before the contract starts, you can do so safely within the platform and still provide yourself with all the protections. So also important to note is that business and enterprise clients are exempt from these rules. So if you're working with any of the larger enterprise clients, they do have slightly different rules around this, and you would be able to email them separately. But again, as a general rule of thumb, you want to make sure you're always keeping your communications on the platform for your protection and your consistency. So also knowing what type of jobs are not allowed. Any type of academic submissions, this would be something like writing an admission essay for someone, or any testing materials. Also any adult content, anything that is a paid review, or any unpaid jobs. So these are all against our terms of service. So again, if you see any of these types of jobs either listed on the platform, or if this is something that is brought up from your client once you have begun, the process of speaking with them potentially for hire, make sure that you know that this type of work is not allowed. And it is against our terms of services and may be reported, and may result in any account suspension. So you can just always protect yourself by not providing this type of work, even if your client asks for it. You can just gently say, I apologize, as I'm not allowed to provide this type of work on the platform. Thank you for your understanding. So if any of those things do come up, this is where reporting would come into hand. So you can report violations, inappropriate behavior, or other issues via customer support. You can also flag a job posting as inappropriate, or you can message in the message center. You can do that by clicking the gear icon next to the timestamp. And in doing any of this reporting, don't think of it as anything bad or tattletaling. It's really just helping to keep the marketplace safe by protecting each other as freelancers, and by making sure that the clients are also operating by our terms of service and only seeking to have jobs completed that are respectable and allowed on our platform. So remember that Upwork is a platform that's here to support all of our livelihoods, so please just help us do your part in keeping it safe and keeping us all safe. So be on the lookout for clients wanting to interview off the platform, clients offering to pay you outside of the platform, any jobs that ask you to create fake reviews or fill their social media accounts with followers, any clients who ask for free work, either in the job posting or during the interview, jobs whose terms are atypical, or jobs that make very strange requests. So clients who want to interview off the platform is not necessarily a violation, but it can definitely be an indicator of a scam client, someone who's trying to pull you to work outside of the platform because they know that you're not entitled to the same protections if you work outside of the platform. So just make sure that you're being vigilant, keep an eye out for anything that seems strange in the job posting or the interview as you are speaking to these clients. So not all, or not even very many clients are scam clients. However, you just do need to make sure that you're on the lookout for these warning signs to further protect yourself and everyone who is working on the marketplace. So for any further reading, if there's anything else that you feel like we didn't cover here today, or you want to find details further, know and follow our Upwork Terms of Service, which you can find on the Upwork website and in the community area there. And thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that this helped cover the basics for you, that you feel like you're ready to get started with Freelancing 101, and that you are now aware of all professional best practices and some of our important terms of service.